Trigger warning. This podcast contains discussions about abuse, domestic violence, and intimate partner violence. Listener discretion is advised. What you are about to hear is a true story. My story. This podcast is about me, my abusive marriage, my fight for my life, and eventual daring escape from my ex-husband and his enabling family. My name is Bebe, and I am the authenticity warrior. My discernment about what I am facing has made me a target, but I must nonetheless speak up. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
We're back. Oh,
Here again.
Bebe and Toro here. Authenticity warrior. Honestly, I still don't know what all of this is going to be like, but I do have to say that this whole thing has been very healing for me. Just being able to talk more in-depthly about everything that I went through. You know, sometimes as I'm talking, I gain a fresh perspective all over again. So I really am grateful to even have this platform, really.
Right. Now it makes a lot of sense. So today, it's going to be like a continuation from the last episode, which is we were kind of taking apart the email and breaking it down and doing a deeper dive on some of the topics of abuse that you had listed out there. So today we're going to be talking about two things specifically, which is financial issues as well as things that fall under the banner of sexual abuse.
To break it down further, because when you say financial issues, to be honest, is really financial neglect. And I'm more inclined to even use the word abuse there, but I don't want to put people on guard as to what I will be describing is. So I'll say yes, financial neglect. The financial neglect I experienced in the marriage with Paulinus, as well as the sexual abuse that I endured.
And I mean, trigger warning, because as we've been doing with this whole Authenticity Warrior project, this is you being no holds barred, very explicit about what it is that you've gone through, talking deeply about everything. So especially when it comes to like the sexual abuse stuff, some of what we talk about today might be very triggering. And so just fair warning ahead for that.
Yeah, so definite fair warning, like you said. I think I said this the last time when we were delving into the physical abuse and all the rest of it, that look, take care of you. If you cannot listen to the things that I'll be saying, definitely don't venture here if you're not ready. Do all the self-care you need to be able to listen, because I will not be holding back, like my sister already said. And I'm saying everything. And a lot of the things I'm saying are not pretty. They're very ugly. And I don't want to trigger people or put them in a bad state hearing information that their nervous system is not ready to hear. So definitely trigger warning. This episode is going to go there. And if you've been sexually abused before, you know someone who has, if you've had a traumatic experience with sex and the like, this episode is it might put you in a dark spot. So please take care of yourself before listening. 3.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the lighter stuff, which is the financial neglect. And I guess just to give a little bit of a background. I just
had to laugh when you said lighter stuff. The financial neglect being lights.
Well, I mean, it is what it is in the grand scheme of things, right?
Yeah.
So just to give a little bit of background, You've never lived, you moved to Nigeria after getting married to this guy.
Yes.
Having never lived in Nigeria as an adult.
Yeah.
You know, having been in Canada for a significant period of time. And so what then was your lifestyle like on ground? So you went there not really knowing what to expect. Didn't really know much beyond, I guess, what you knew from home and how we lived at home and with our parents and stuff. And so when it comes to like the inner workings of adulting in Nigeria, that was just a completely blank slate for you. So what really was your lifestyle like when you moved back and were newlywed to this guy and settling in? And then how did things develop over time throughout the marriage as well?
Yeah. So in trying to answer this question, to be honest, it's so convoluted. Because, okay, I moved back to Nigeria, like you said, because I got married to this guy. Ordinarily, there was really no reason for me to be in Nigeria. My family had already moved to Canada very long time ago. This was like what, 07 or something. We're in Canada. I'd pursued my education to the highest extent that I could. And the next step was really for me to work in Canada. But of course, having met Paulinus and all of that, and all of a sudden in the middle, while we were dating, already falling in love with the guy or whatever, he springs on me that, he's moving back to Nigeria and all of that. And I was very confused, but I was just like, okay, I mean, it had never occurred to me to actually move back to Nigeria. But of course, I guess I love you or whatever. Let's see how Nigeria can work with my life. So I kept on with my education.
So this was your first year in law school when he decided to move back, or?
Yes.
Okay, so you still had school to complete here.
Yeah, I still had about three more years to complete before even contemplating the idea of moving back to Nigeria. So I just continued on with the relationship, continued with
long distance.
So the bulk of our relationship was actually long distance, which honestly, I wouldn't recommend. I know there are some wonderful stories that have come out from long distance and it has worked well for some people. But for me, that was actually the major blind spot for me that kept me trapped in this abusive relationship.
Why do you say so?
Because each time we see each other, it was a reset. It was a love bombing session. We spent much of the year apart. When we'd see each other, it was just always exactly. It was always a honeymoon period over and over and over again. And then when we were apart, we didn't really get to speak to each other because of long distance and all of that. So again, honeymoon period. So we spent the bulk of our dating life in some sort of protracted honeymoon period. We didn't really get to the bottom of knowing each other. I thought I knew this person, but it wasn't until I got married to him that I saw that what my eyes saw there. I said, what? I was very shocked. So for me, the long distance relationship is what kept me in the dark about the person that I was actually committing myself to. And so on that basis, I honestly wouldn't recommend. More so if at the end of it all, it requires you leaving your home base, leaving everything, leaving and moving to a new place where you literally have to start again from scratch and then rely on that person to carry you through. Mm-hmm. For me, that's where the bulk of the financial neglect and dare I even say abuse, that's where it really materialized for me, because I could have pursued a lucrative job opportunity here in Canada with all the qualifications that I have, a law degree and the like. Mm-hmm. I had to go back to Nigeria. I had to go and do Nigerian law school all over. I had to start from bar one. I had to do NYSC. Are you counting the years? This is almost 2 years of my life that I had to rely on this guy financially. Mm-hmm. And this guy showed me Pepe. The difference is because I hadn't really lived in Nigeria as an adult. I didn't realize it was Pepe that I was chopping until looking back. It was in looking back, I was like, oh my God, this guy
capitalized on your naivety about...
Yeah, he capitalized on my naivety about the Naira, about how much things really cost. Like, just to even clarify for the people who are listening here, this guy used to give me 50K every month to take care of the house and everything, or he and I's needs. And he would not, and the money would be finishing, and he would now weaponize it back that maybe it's me that doesn't know how to manage money or whatever. And but I didn't understand it because me, again, I'm not used to, I didn't understand Naira and what's the buying power of Naira and, oh, should this thing really cost this or that? So I used to internalize the shame and feel like, oh, maybe it's me that's just not managing money well. Because he would do as if he was giving me a lot of money, that 50,000, that should be enough for him and I for the whole month. Then we didn't even have any help. It was just he and I. I would go to the market. I would buy, I would cook, I would clean. I would do everything in the house. I didn't have any help. So I didn't know how to say that, oh, this 50K is not making sense. So that before even getting into all of that. So bottom line, as I was trying to explain, is that like I came into Nigeria under the impression that, okay, this guy at the very least is going to carry me for at least 2 years.
And he had painted a picture. Like, let's not be. He had painted a picture with getting you to move back and saying he was going to take care of you. Painted all these pie in the sky kind of story, future mapping.
Yeah, that's very true. So again, we met each other in Canada. He had painted this idea that, oh, he comes from a wealthy family. His father has all these many businesses. He's being groomed to take over these businesses and all of that. And he had even painted me as, my qualifications. I could very easily plug in and help their family business grow and this and that and this and that. Now, by no means am I a gold digger. I mean, please. Mm-hmm. I very much could have stood on my own and all of that. But he had painted this idea of partnership and cooperation, and we can be this power couple together. And that he already has so much going on. He's making money. He's moving along with his father's businesses. He's trying to take them to the next level. He's a next generation person. He used to tell me how his dad was actually a billionaire at some point. But I think the 2008 recession, his dad lost a bit of money, but they were still doing very well, that they owned a lot of property, they owned a lot of machinery and all of that. So of course, in my head, I'm not going to try and pitch my tent with someone that I felt was some sort of NFA.
What does that translate to for our audience?
Like NFA being no future ambition. That's what we call people that just are not going anywhere in life. That wasn't my own desire. Like me, I wanted to be with a guy that at least had something for himself, and then together we could make life, because I know the life that my parents gave to me, and I didn't plan to give my children any less. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to be with a guy that, number one, understood that and could also provide that. Because again, I love partnerships. Like, how people are always shouting about group projects, that they hate, working in groups. I love working in groups. So for me, marriage was like just the ultimate group project. Like the two of you coming together and building this kind of life for yourself. Mm-hmm. So I just assumed that, okay, at the very least, this guy had presented the picture that he could carry me for a bit while I worked through getting qualifications and all of that. And even if I even decided, let's say I wanted to be a homemaker or never work again, he had painted this idea that he could actually still afford to take care of myself and, our possible children, and still give us the lifestyle that I felt he understood. Mm-hmm. The traveling. I mean, I traveled every summer. Just the kind of life that I went to really, really good schools. So he had painted this idea that he understood. Although, Toro, this is where I also think my naivety came into play, in that, like, he didn't have the same experience. Mm-hmm. He didn't have the whole travel every summer experience. The schools he went to, I mean, they were okay, but I don't know, like, they were not like, okay, mm-hmm. the top expensive schools or whatever that I knew about or I had attended and things like that. So
this guy had wealth, so to speak. Well, not wealth, money. I mean, just call it. Seemingly had money, but there was a marked difference in pedigree.
You know what? I think you've captured it properly. But I explained it away as, okay, because what he communicated to me was that his family came into money a little later. So I just explained, when I saw some lack of pedigree in the way the guy would talk, in the way he would behave, in the things in his movement, I just chucked it away as, okay, I mean, their family had a late start in life, but it seems that they've caught up. I mean, we Sha Kuku both ended up here in Canada. Who pedigree help? Like, we're Sha Kuku. Do you understand what I mean? I'm like, they've found a way to catch up, and now the two of us are here in Canada together. We both went to university here. So I just assumed that, okay, he has caught up now, and now he understands the vision of, okay, the two of us, we're going to keep trying to build on whatever it is our parents were able to afford us. But the biggest mistake that I made was this guy, number one, the pedigree issue was such a big chasm. Little things that
we come from different worlds, different backgrounds. We come from
different worlds, even down to, okay, I want to buy jam, or I want to put sardine in my egg. I was not expecting to be having such fights in marriage, honestly. That why am I putting sardine in egg? Or why am I putting corned beef in egg? For goodness sake, like these things that I'm saying now, they sound like things that when you hear on Twitter that how can you be using three? How can my wife be cooking 3 eggs? And for me, it's not funny because for me, I'll be like, okay, what's the issue? I mean, me I use 3 egg, but he will be so incensed too that what kind of wobia is she? Because that was the word he used to say that why is she eating 3 eggs or stuff like that. So that pedigree issue, girls, my goodness, please don't ever make a mistake there, because at the end of the day, you will not know that somebody is counting pepper and tomato for you in the kitchen when you want to cook. Like it really is that real. So I don't even know where we left off or the points I was trying to make in all of that. Bottom line is I came into Nigeria very, very naive, and I was blindsided on the life that this man had told me we were going to have. Okay, number one, I was not expecting that we'll be living in a back apartment on a property that belongs to his father. A 2-bedroom apartment at the back of some property that belongs to his father. That's number one. And this is the apartment this man, he had lived in it the entire time we were dating. Prior to him living there, his own sister had lived there. And
for the 4 years or 5 years of the marriage, you guys were in there as well. 3 kids.
From the day I got married to the day I finally packed my load and said, enough is enough. We lived in that house. And when I even think about that property, that was not even, it's one thing, okay, fine, you live on your father's property. There are about, I believe there are about 6 flats in one building block. Then there are two flats at the back. We lived at the back. So we didn't even live in the best of the flat of the apartments on that property. I was just like, why are we now the ones at the back? Our own apartment is the smallest one. We're not even living in the 3-bedroom one. Is this 2-bedroom one that is really and truly just a bachelor pad? I even think it may have even been the BQ of the actual
complex or whatever. Yeah.
So, but again, this guy, he knew how to dress a pig up in pearls and sell it to you as if you were you were living the best life or whatever. So that's number one. I wasn't expecting to live in a back apartment, 2-bedroom apartment on a property that belonged to his father. And the property, I could already see that this thing cannot accommodate a growing family. And Toro, you will not believe that prior to my even leaving this man and this marriage, this man was telling me how this is the house he wants to live in. Like he wants to die there kind of thing. That he didn't plan to move out of that apartment. But of course, he was trying to sell it to me as, he doesn't need any, he likes small spaces. He doesn't need anything more than that. His office is nearby. He doesn't see himself ever moving out of this apartment. And I'll just be listening to him like, in my head, I'm just like, I've entered it too. We mean we're going to live here for the rest of our lives. You don't plan to move. Oh my God. So that's number one. Number two, I'm sorry to say again, the way I grew up, there was car and there was driver. And even if there's even only one driver, it's my mom that would have the driver, right? And my dad would drive himself. Anyway, my dad liked to drive, so let's leave that one aside. But I moved to Nigeria. This man, it's him that had driver in Nigeria. In the 5 years I was in this marriage, he's the one that had a driver driving him. I was driving myself in Nigeria.
Oh my God.
On these crazy Lagos roads. The driving that I did not do in my father's house, I came here. I came to this, I married this man, I started doing it. I will be there struggling on the roads with all these crazy downfall and all of that. Like I used to be so scared. That Third Mainland Bridge used to scare me. I hated driving Third Mainland Bridge. I hated it. And you will see these trailers that look like they're about to give way. I hated it. And talking about that now, the reason why I also hated driving in Nigeria was because of the car too. All the cars in my house. And again, guys, I really do have to say, because I don't want to sound as if I'm bragging, because
or elitist or snooty or anything, but
exactly,
these are the differences in pedigree that do cause issues and do make a difference.
And they matter, because I grew up riding in SUVs. So, I mean, the last small car that I saw in my house was that mommy's. Remember that mommy's red Santana?
Well, Daddy has the Infinity that he loves.
But you know, we never rode in it,
Right.
But all the cars for everybody in everybody else they were SUVs. So another reason why I hated driving on this Lagos road, because you're not there driving this small car. You now in between these two large trailers. I really hated it. Like the thing would be so scary. You can see their tires and the way they're moving. Like, my God, I just like, I used to be so terrified driving in Lagos with the cars that we had. So now, speaking again about the cars, the best car that was in that house was a Toyota Camry. I believe it was 2012 or something that his father bought for him. Then there were now two other cars, Corollas. He gave me one. This one, in fact, he even made a comment that this was supposed to be a car for his sales team in the office, that he's just giving it to me, kind of thing. Setting it up almost as if I should now be grateful and I should be thanking him that he made such a huge sacrifice for my sake. Okay, guys, what exactly was even the car going to sell? It was this Toyota Corolla. I promise you, this car was no later than 2003.
And you got married when? 2016? Was it? Yeah.
2016. This car was no later. At the most, this car was 2003. I'm even inclined to think that it was even older, like in the 90s, because it was rollers, Toro. I'm not sure if when you came to Nigeria, you got to see the car.
No, I didn't.
Rollers.
Yeah.
I had not seen rollers in over 15 years. I had not seen rollers in a car before. But this guy tried to sell it to me as if he had just given me the most amazing gift in the world. Anyway, me, I shall just cuckoo grateful. I cuckoo need a car. So no problem. I will drive the car. I will not say that, because the car looks a certain kind of way, or because he has rollers, the car just looks old and kind of beat up or whatever, that I will not drive the car. I drove the car, but Toro, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't embarrassed if I ever had to meet up with any of my friends, which is, again, I hardly ever went out because I knew I couldn't present the person that these people had kind of known me to be. So I kind of became a shell. I remember the first week I got my new job at the tech company that I was working for, and I drove that car to the office, and someone passed a comment. I think they didn't see the car I came in. So I think when we're now leaving and they saw my car and they were like, is this your car? And I just tried to play it off and be like, yeah, it's my car, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, that they were not expecting that to be my car, kind of thing. And of course, I tried to laugh it off and be like, hey, like, don't talk about my car, kind of thing. But I was so embarrassed. Again, this is not the life I was promised, Toro.
Right.
When I was in Canada, when this guy will be selling the dream to me and the life to me that we're going to live, we're going to have, that he's going to Nigeria to go and hustle, that Nigeria is the last frontier. This is where you can make a lot of money, and right now he's already on the path. His father has set him up well, has introduced him to this, introduced him to that, things like he's going to blow in this Nigeria, and he's going to take care of us, and we're going to live this kind of life. Again, all I only ever desired was just the life that my parents gave to me. Do that and we're good. My parents were, I would say, we're middle class. Like, we were not my parents did well for themselves, let me not lie, and they gave my siblings and I an excellent life, but they were not in Banana Island or anything like that. Like, it wasn't that kind of unattainable life that I mean, me in my own rights, I could have given myself that life, especially if I'd stayed back in Canada and pursued my career here. So all I just know is that the 5 years I was with this man was a fog, in that I was living a very subpar life. And it took a while for me to begin to express it to this man, because it seemed like he didn't want to hear it. He will find a way to flip it on me, like maybe I'm just a bad money manager. I'm just ungrateful. Don't I know how hard it is to live in Nigeria? Or he will even flip it as if he's giving me the best. There's no other person that could have given me a better life kind of thing. And again, I'm not trying to say all of this because, maybe I didn't expect to carry my weight or pull my weight. But again, like I was telling you, Tori, I spent the first 2.5 years of my marriage unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
I had to come do law school, do this one. I was getting pregnant almost every year. Like I had my first 2 children in the first 2 years of our marriage, pretty much. So I was doing a lot on the home front. I didn't get into the workforce until sometime in 2019. And once I started working like this, not 1 naira did I allow this man used to hold me hostage. If we needed anything, I'll spend the money. I'll do it. I'll get whatever it is that we needed. I'll send him the bill. If he like, pay. If he like, don't pay. That was his business. That was just how we rolled then. But the first 2 years, honestly, were miserable for me. I share with you guys how this guy was giving me 50K a month. This guy was giving me 50K even after we had our first child. And my first child was formula fed. So formula, as at that time, I would buy the cheapest formula I could buy. I used to buy Nan, Nestle Nan, the cheapest formula that I still felt was from a reputable company, Nestle. Nan at that time was, I think it was 1.5. Then it even became 2K for a can. We will blow through an entire pack of formula. That's 25K worth of formula every month. Toro, this guy was still giving me 50K and 25K was going towards formula. 25K was going towards formula, Toro.
That's wild. That leaves nothing. What is pocket money?
Like I'm pausing right now because as I'm speaking, I'm actually trying not to get emotional. This guy turned me into something that I'm not. I couldn't. Money to eat, Toro. What are we saying? I noticed this is how I used to cope. First of all, my parents, from the time I got married up until I left, my parents were sending me money every month. Thank God for that money. This is money that they were sending to help me take care of some of my obligations in Canada. Every single month without fail, I was receiving this money. But I could not even be sending that money to Canada. I was using it to plug in the holes of my life in Nigeria. So things in Canada even became wonky for me financially because I couldn't take care of those obligations anymore. Anyway, without even getting to that story. So that is how I was surviving in Nigeria. The money my parents were sending me every month, I was using it to take care of the home front in Nigeria. Then I noticed another thing. Every time we would go and visit his dad, this man would give me cash. Toro, it became a thing, I would just be showing up at that house anyhow because I beg. There were some times where Toro, I wouldn't be sure if he would give, if he would not give. So sometimes I would show up and maybe he wouldn't even give that day. Unbeknownst to the man, maybe all I have in my account, maybe it's like 3K or something left. I don't have any other thing again. I'll show up again. Maybe the second time when I now show up, the guy will just click. You just give me 115K, 120K, like that. And the joy, the jubilation, but I would not be able to even share with the man or tell the man that I don't have food to eat at home. The house will be bare. This guy traveled a lot. Because you guys, I guess the question might be, wouldn't he eat? This guy traveled a lot. Okay. So it would be just me, myself, the nanny, and my child at the time. So he traveled a lot. But then when he would now come back, he will now be demanding all sorts of, Kini, I'm a king, you feed me like this, you feed me like that. And I'll push back and be like, Oga, like, what do you want me to do? I should sacrifice myself on an altar here. Again, being in that space, you still be trying to find a way to tell him that, Oga, you need to open the wallet and let the money come out kind of thing.
But why do you find that you tiptoed around that or that you weren't vocal and able to ask for more? or just let him know that, listen, this is barely covering anything?
Okay, I tiptoed because initially when I had tried to tell him that, hey, I don't think this money is enough, this guy literally to my face told me that I was just a bad money manager, that I'm the one that just doesn't, that I'm being too extravagant. Maybe I'm not pricing things well in the market, or maybe I'm the one, like I said, I'm eating too much sardine with my egg. I'm the one that doesn't know how to manage things. So I started to feel a lot of shame that, maybe, so I used to feel every time money will finish, man, I'll be feeling shame that, hey, is that I can't manage. Sometimes you even tell me that, hey, that's what am I talking about? That his mother, and that no matter the money that his dad gave to her, that she will still find money to save even from that money. So he was even trying to communicate to me that even from the 50K that he expects me to even be saving from that 50K, that what am I talking about, that the money is not enough kind of thing.
So he wasn't amenable to any financial talks.
He wasn't amenable.
Yeah.
So for the first 2 years, we continued on that 50K. I think at some points, because again, my son had now come, and that my nanny self, that my nanny, that big mouth, like that my nanny, she was a kind of shoot from the hip kind of person. So that she would complain, Madam, I beg you, we never chop meat for this house now since I don't even remember the last time when we chop meat for this house. But now we must chop meat too. But again, luckily for this Paulinus person, me, I'm not even really a meat eater or a chicken eater. I'll be eating boiled egg with my rice. What's my own? We can't buy chicken. We can't buy chicken. But my nanny will complain and say, hey, please, oh, she wants to eat chicken. That's, I'm not going to lie, guys. My nanny was very free in my house, because I think some people are cringe that, your nanny was saying that. Yeah, because I actually appreciated that, because me, I like people that are straight and upfront. I beg. So I allowed her to be very free. So she's the one that won't be shouting and be clamoring for the meat, that she cannot just be eating rice like that, or eating swallow and there's no meat kind of thing. That, madam, we must buy meat today. We must collect money from Ogami. We buy meat and stuff. So I think even for him too, I think things were becoming more obvious. I mean, another child was in the house. Like, it was becoming so bad. So he now increased it from 50 to about 75. But of course, like in true abuser fashion, any small bone they toss your way like this, they want all the adulation, all the praises, all the everything. You want all the thank yous. Thank you, baby. Thank you. I really appreciate you giving me this 75K like this. Oh, you have done such a marvelous thing. So by the time, just to not go on this issue for too long, as at the time I was leaving, or as at the time I escaped this marriage, the family budget altogether, myself, the Paulinus himself, our nanny, and 2 children at the time, was 150K. That was the most money I ever received from this man every month. And that 150K, what am I saying? Because he also hired a caretaker to be taking care of his needs and stuff like that, washing his clothes, everything. So, and she will eat in the house. So that's 4 adults and 2 children, was 150K. And, from that 150K, the salary of the nannies will come out too. The salary of the nanny, the salary of his caretaker will come out. So essentially, it was just like what?
Amount, yeah.
Still back to just the how much to take care of the family's needs, food, or this one, that one. So it will still be scrimping. Like, I had to supplement heavily from my own salary just to plug in the holes. Which was, again, a clear contradiction, because in all the years when I told you that mommy and daddy were sending me money to be taking care of my obligations in Canada, and I was diverting those funds, of course, my credits took a hit in Canada. So our agreement was, okay, when I start working, the bulk of my salary will go into trying to repair my credits in Canada, because, again, the future mapping, he was doing that, when the time comes, if we want to buy a home in Canada, because his own credits had completely destroyed in Canada. So he was saying, when the time comes, he wants my own credits to be in good standing. So that we could purchase property under my name and all that kind of stuff. So that was what my own salary in Nigeria was supposed to be doing, repairing my credits in Canada. But of course, with, again, the 150K and the way he was doing as if He can't send me more than that. How much am I? What are we really doing in the house? All that kind of stuff. Just avoid fights. My salary, I was just diverting it towards things in the house, things that we needed and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that I just thank God that my job did for me was I no longer had to be on edge. I no longer had to be
completely dependent
on this man begging, please, we need money for this. Showing up to his father's house, knowing that, okay, the man will at least chook hand inside pockets more and give me something. I never had to put myself in a position where I felt like I was living life on the edge. I didn't know if I would have money today to do anything. That was a very scary time for me, honestly. And I was just like, look, the money that I earned from my job, I don't care if my credit spoils in Canada, but if I have to live completely on my salary just to avoid asking this man any question for money for this or that, I would do that. I don't care. But it was just enough. The control, the neglect, it was just enough.
Something you said there is very key there, control. Because that's essentially what it is when it comes to financial neglect, financial abuse. It becomes another tool, another weapon of control in the abuser's toolbox, where you are completely dependent on them, where you don't have visibility into like the family standing or his accounts per se, or just anything. They keep you in the dark and they keep you on a shoestring budget, scraping, begging. That is all part of that element of control and domination, so that they have you in their mind like on the back foot.
It's so funny that you mentioned this element of control, because would you believe that when I first moved to Nigeria, this guy wanted me to close down all my personal accounts, and we had a huge fight about it. Why am I even saying we had a huge fight? I was just there. This guy was screaming at me. Raging at me. That's why am I not? That I should close all my accounts. That's what am I doing? That we're now one. We're now a unit. That I should close all my accounts. Then you put my name on all his own accounts, and then we'll just have one account and all of that and all that. And I'm just like, I've never seen that kind of arrangement before. The family me I'm coming from, everybody has their own accounts. There's joint accounts too, but that doesn't mean that I should not have my own personal account. I like to organize my life. I like to know how I'm spending this one, that one. I don't want to be getting confused by another person's debits or credits or interactions. Like I don't want to see all that chaos there. Yes, we can have joint accounts, but let's also have individual accounts. This guy cursed at me. Each time this guy had to send me money, he would try and make it a point that why does he doesn't see why he has to do this. That's why he's been telling me to close my account so that I can just have a card and anything I need, I can take money from it. Blah blah blah. That he hates having to transfer money to me. But I would just always insist that no, like I can't close down my accounts. Okay, since he now did not win on that front, he now flips it that okay, that why does my account still have my maiden name on it? He now decided that he's not going to send me any money again until I change all my account names from my maiden name to his last name.
Had you already changed your name legally by this time?
I'm not even sure. I don't even think I hadn't really changed my name legally, because again, when we got married, I had to go and start Nigerian law school. So I was even in Abuja for a while doing Bar 1. By the time I came back, I literally got pregnant. As soon as I came back from Bar 1, I got pregnant. And for those of you that know me, I had this condition called hyperemesis gravidarum, where extreme morning sickness, all my pregnancies, I'll just be so sick. So anyway, especially that first pregnancy, oh my God, it was the worst thing. I thought I was going to die. So I was so sick, I couldn't leave the house. I was vomiting round the clock. I couldn't eat. So of course I hadn't gotten around to going to the Nigerian bank and go and be standing. Again, guys, don't forget, I just moved to Nigeria. Nigeria was so overwhelming for me. So, and again, even in my experience in the banks then, my parents or whatever, when they had to do anything with the bank.
Such a shit show. Yeah,
exactly. No,
the basic things take the longest time.
They take the longest time, but you know how mommy and daddy always knew how to bypass all these things. There will be some officer, they will just connect you. Yeah, you go in the back and do all of that. So I thought that this guy had the same, because the way he would talk about his father and their family. So I thought that, okay, he also had the same kidney that, okay, if I go to the bank, okay, there will be just some officer that they will call me to the back somewhere to go and do kini. But very early on too, I noticed that it was just, this guy didn't have any of that. I will have to go to the bank. I'll be there standing just do the basic of shit. So again, I was very, very sick. So in my head, I was just like, I cannot even imagine gathering myself right now to go and be trying to do change of name, change of signature, change of this, change of that. So I delayed it for the longest time.
That whole name thing is even just so, I find it unsavory to hold you hostage, to be like, I'm not going to give you any money until you change my name. Because again, it comes back down to control and ownership, really, and domination. So this whole name thing, when I see, especially like our generation going forward, when I see couples having these fallout fights over you didn't change your name, your maiden name, it's just so regressive and backwards. But in the hands of an abuser, like, you can always see what the motivation is to win, just to win at all costs. Whether they're right
so
or
since you
not.
already saw that, it's like this girl is not going to close her account, so that's he now picked that one to fight on. At least
So
any win is a win for them. So of course, in the position that I was in, I dragged my sick self. I still remember how sick I was. I was one of those pregnant women that used to carry cup to be spitting inside. That's how I went. I was so sick. I carried my spit cup with me. I dragged myself to the bank for this man, for me to finally go and change my name. And it was such a long process. I wanted to vomit. Like, that day was so bad for me. Yeah. That day was just so bad for me. But in my head, I was just like, I'm not going to give this guy some excuse not to be able to send me money. So I locked it up and I gathered the strength and I just did what I had to do. Went in that day and of course did the change of name and all of that. But when I just think about my experiences with this guy and with money, there was just a lot of, like, things do not need to be as difficult as it was. I didn't need to, the kind of life that I lived, I didn't have to live it, to be honest. And that's really just what hurts, because this guy would come home and he would tell me about his businesses and the money he spent doing this and the money he spent doing that. And some of these things were, frivolous things, or this guy would randomly decide to be doing random businesses. Like one day,
like a jack of all trades, even though he doesn't really have any experience or expertise.
This guy is a trained architect. His father's businesses are within construction. This guy will come on one day and say he wants to start selling chicken. He will go, he'll spend money buying freezers. He will go, he will buy chickens. He will do this, do that. But he doesn't have the expertise for that kind of business. He doesn't have the time to see it through. But he'll be building a lot of resentment for me that, hey, why am I not putting hand and helping him with these businesses? And I'm just like, at no point did I ever declare that I had any interest in chickens. Why in the world would you think I would just all of a sudden leave the work that I'm doing and start selling chicken for you, frozen chicken?
And it wasn't just chickens or frozen animals. He also had like live.
Yeah, so I'm actually working. I'm working my way up to that. My point is that, like, he would do all these things on a whim. He would not tell me anything about it until after he has already started spending money on it. Then he wants me to jump on board and begin. In his mind, he's trying to do power couple. But power couple, you did not ask me anything, you did not tell me anything. And he's on all this basic, okay, you want me to leave the job I'm doing. I was working in tech in Nigeria. I should leave that and come and start selling chickens, frozen chickens. Then he will wake up one day, he say he's doing pigs. There's no animal, livestock, fish that we have not done in that household. Let me list them for you. We have done chicken. We have done catfish. We have done pig. We have done cows and goats. He has tried to sell Gary. That Gary one is actually the one that I think, honest to God, is the one that has pained me the most in all of this. Because we had just gotten married. All the money that they sprayed us, all the cash gifts that were given to us, I gathered everything and I put it in an account, in a joint account. He had one account, he just added me to it. So I put the money there. All of this was almost about 1 million naira. All the money from our wedding. Mind you, this money from our wedding, this guy had raged at me about, because when we packed all that money, or when my girls packed all the money, everything, they had given it to my mom's sister on the day of the wedding. This guy was angry. He raged at me. He called me all sorts of names because he said that why did they give it to my mom's sister? Why didn't they give it to his own mother? That she be married now. Why is the money going to my parents' house, or why is it going to my auntie? And I told him,
it's just to keep it.
Number one, it was just to keep it. My aunt would, anytime we had functions or events, is this aunt that handles money, and she's money never goes missing in her hand, kind of thing. So that's why she was assigned.
Trusted, yeah.
She was trusted. And plus, our parents, your mother, my mother, your father, my father,
participating in the wedding.
They're participating in the wedding. Is it them that we should not be giving Ghana must go bag of money to? Do they have the bandwidth to handle that money? Anyway, he raged at me. We had to go back to my house. I think the very next day, we went to my parents' house to go and pick up that money. He said that we cannot leave that money there. And the way he was framing it as if, maybe my family, or maybe me, where we were trying to pull a fast one over him about the money. So for me, I really did not appreciate the insinuation and all of that, because what are we dragging here? Okay, so I apologized, and I was just like, let's just go and pick this money because I just don't even want any issues. So the following day we went and picked that money, everything. So he made this huge fuss. We carried that money. We went to go and drop it at his parents' house. The following day, literally, this is supposed to be day one of the honeymoon. Honeymoon did not start until we went to go and pick that money. We picked that money. We went to go and give it to his mother. When we came back from our honeymoon, because we traveled that night for our honeymoon, when we came back a week later, I was given the money and I went to go and put it in that account. This is an account that I don't receive alerts to. I didn't even have a bank card to this account or whatever. But I went to go and put it there because let me not go and put it in my own account now. Then it becomes a whole issue that I'm trying to. So I put it in the account that has his name on it, has my name on it. But I didn't have any access to the account. In fact, the idea was the money was supposed to be a seed it's like supposed to be the starting seed for saving, to be building on it. If we want to buy a house or buy property or buy a car, it was supposed to be like, okay, this is going to be our savings account now. Only for a couple months after our wedding, this guy just he was just talking to me about Gary. He's trying to sell Gary. He's trying to do Gary. In my head, I'm just like, Gary K. I'm like, do you even know anything about this business? He said, no, he has this woman in the village that does it. She will do this. He was just explain. I said, okay, fine, no problem. But he would just be talking about this Gary business, giving me updates. Me, I don't know anything about Gary. I would just be supporting him in his business and everything. Only for one day, for you to come and start trying to tell me that, he's gotten into a big problem. He has lost the Gary. I think apparently the woman had sold them bad Gary. All the Gary turned black. He has lost all the money. In fact, she was even owing him Gary, but they have paid out. She was just going on and on and on and on. Then he now said that in fact that babe, it was even the money that from our wedding self that I put inside this Gary business. And then he just wanted to continue the conversation as if, he was saying it as if, it's even the money from our wedding that we put inside the business. But anyway, this Gary business, he just wanted to continue to rant and rave about how the Gary business has spoiled. It doesn't make sense. He has lost all the money on it. So I now paused. I said, excuse me, what money are you talking about? Said the money that was in that account. He mentioned the accounts. I said, you mean the money that's
the wedding money?
The money that two of us dance to collect? The wedding money that we said is supposed to be savings. He now flipped it on me. He got angry. He said, why am I focusing on the wrong issue? How much is the money saved? Okay, gather all the money to put together. How much is it? Just 1 million naira. What is 1 million naira that I cannot give you? Is that what you're now focusing on now? He now flipped it and now tried to start raging at me as if, I'm not empathetic. That he's trying to tell me that he has lost a lot of money on the Gary business. And I'm here focusing on 1 million naira from an account instead of me to be apologizing and to be commiserating with him that he has lost a lot of money doing Gary.
He had nothing to say about taking the money without telling you about nothing, no accountability.
He refused. He did not take accountability for that. Number one, you took money, you did not tell me about it. I'm only finding out about it now as a by the wayside to a larger story. Okay, now I'm trying to find information about it. You're now calling me out and telling me that I am focusing on the wrong side of the story. I am being selfish. Don't I have any love in my heart to commiserate with you that, okay, fine, he lost 1 million naira, but he lost more on the business. So Like, who has really lost here kind of thing. But I was just so disgusted again because
it's
number one,
yeah.
it's not about the money, the 1 million naira. The 1 million naira, the reason why we kept it there is because it can't actually solve a big problem right now. 1 million naira cannot buy property, at least not in Lagos or whatever. Like it couldn't really do anything of significance, which is why it was supposed to be a building block. But it's a general theme with this guy of eating the money of the future for today. That's what I noticed about this guy. So that Gary one definitely pained me because aside from the insult and the raging that I chopped just even in gathering that money in the first place, for him to now turn around and do something so despicable. So that means all that one that he was projecting on me and my family that hey, maybe we were trying to pull a fast one over the money. It was him that in the end, is it not him that now pulled the fast one really? Spent money, don't tell him until today. That guy never paid that money back. As much as he tried to talk about hey, how much is the money safe? I'll put the money back. Blah, 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 blah. He never put that money back into that account. Not one day has this guy ever gathered 1 million naira together and said, take dear, go and love fish shopping, love fish anything in this life. He has not done that. And that money never returned back to that account. So again, it was just him slipping and sliding, trying to escape accountability. But I also think, so that's amongst the long line of businesses that this man has done. At some point, he wanted to start selling horses.
This is another part of the animals, right?
Yeah, he said he wants to start breeding horses for polo, for people who play polo. And in my head, I'm just like, what do you know about that? What do you know about, at least from me, because again, it's not as if I don't have exposure. I know there are certain sports that require horses. It's the, I forget, those guys that do use horses for shows and all of that, jump horses.
Yeah,
you know,
the equestrian
equestrians. Yeah. I know that anything that requires horses, they don't joke with those horses. It's a special kind of breeding, a special kind of every
care.
Food.
Like, yeah, I don't even know where to begin. Like, horses are just beyond.
But I'll be trying to explain to this guy, but he would just rebuff me as if, what do I know? I don't know anything about business. This guy went to go and get some malam from somewhere that was sending him, that was helping him buy horses from the north, 250K a horse. And this, I'll just be, and
so you guys are essentially living in close to, I don't want to say squalor, not squalor, but like just
we're living a very subpar life.
Yeah, but there's money. It's just not being spent on what he has prioritized, or you guys are appropriately prioritized on his list, and that's why nothing is coming to you, because it seems like there's money for horses and all these other wild things.
Exactly. So I think this is actually what pained me the most, because it's not as if I'm not a ride or die kind of chick. Because I am. Clearly I am. If for me to have sat down here and be taking all this nonsense and be adjusting. For God's sake, 50K a month. I'm a ride or die, please. That's not even the argument here. My point is, I was there riding and dying for something I didn't even need to ride and die about. This guy had money to spend. But in his mind, he was trying to spend it on all these other things. And there's not one business that this guy has done that has been viable. He will just be losing the money. It's as if God was even just trying to just like, oh my God, come here and spend money on your wife and children. Because what is it? So I remember when he was even sending me the horses, first of all, the way they looked, I'm just like, this is not the kind of horse that I see any polo person ride. But the guy, of course, he doesn't have sense. Some malam from somewhere was there buying him, sending him horses. He was paying 250,000 naira per horse. Whereas the total budgets that we used to eat in my house was, like I told you, as at the height of the time when I escaped this marriage, 150K. Almost double. This guy was spending buying one horse. And this is what is so hurtful about the neglect in the hands of this man is our children did not need to live like that. Okay, forget about me. Let's say I'm a grown adult. I can figure out my own life. Our children did not need to live the life that they lived. Just to even have my children in Canada, it was always a big issue. But that was an issue I was not going to give an inch on, because I said absolutely not.
And then and for that especially, it's not even about the money. Like I don't want to say everyone, but There are clear stats about maternal mortality. First, amongst Black women, that's just number one. But specifically in Nigeria too, like it is.
For people who don't know, Nigeria actually has one of the highest
maternal mortality rates worldwide.
There
is a lot that goes on there, just healthcare wise, in terms of negligence, into anything really is just a risk.
And that's why there's a lot of Thanksgiving in Nigeria when a woman gets pregnant, goes in and comes out alive, herself and the child. Because Nigeria is
not
wild.
To be taken for granted at all. And anyone who has options takes the option, which you do by being a dual citizen.
And you try and say, wait, but you're already a citizen. I'm already a citizen. Why does the child need to? I was like, it's not. See, I am not going to. First of all, my pregnancy has already hit me so hard. I'm already so sick. I'm already very my pregnancies are always so difficult. I'm just like, there's no way I'm completing this thing in Nigeria. Absolutely not. I'm having my child in Canada, and he will try and take a stand on it. And I remember the last pregnancy that I had. Even though I was already working and everything, but I said, look, I will fund the entirety of this pregnancy on my credit card if I have to. If you say, tell me right now if you have money to put towards this thing. If you don't have money, say it. Open your mouth and say it. Then I'll bring out my credit card and I'll fund the entire thing on my pregnancy. But this thing that you're trying to tell me right now about, must you go have the child here in Nigeria? I'm not doing it. Yes, there are many women that are doing it. And nothing happens with them. But I beg. Much of my family is in Nigeria. Much of my family is in Canada. Your own family too is in Canada. For what reason should I now stay here in Nigeria and I must have the child in Nigeria? For what? I'm just like, no, I'm having all my children in Canada because if this is something that I can give to them, if this is something that will make me feel safe, make me feel comfortable, that I can bring life into this world in a very peaceful manner, no stress. I'm not trying to have any stress. There's no person, there's no woman that I know that if they had the choice and they had the means, they would still choose Nigeria over Canada. Not people that I know. So I beg. I have a choice and I'm taking that choice. So that's my point, in that there's no reason why my children should have lived the life that they lived. Even just to have to give birth to them, it was a battle. Okay, now the kind of life that they should live, the kind of clothes they should wear,
schools they should go to, experiences they should have.
Toro, you will not believe that I couldn't, thank God for you guys that, and my parent family that would, when you guys would travel, or you even from Canada, you guys would send clothes for my children and stuff like that. Toro, I could not, with the money this guy was giving me, I could not buy clothes for these boys prior to my starting a job. When I got a job, I now had to now be very strategic when I'll buy their clothes. First of all, I could only buy their clothes from Pep. Because as much as, again, I want to say that, okay, I know how to find a good deal or whatever, I'm still a butty child. It's not me. I'm not going to go inside some market somewhere. That's not me. That's not my life. I don't know how to do it. They will ban me, first of all. So Pep was the
what
nice.
Is Pep?
Pep is like this discount. It's like a cheap store or whatever. But it's just think of it like maybe like dollar store or something, or Walmart or something like that.
So it wasn't rough and tumble.
Yeah, exactly. It's not rough and tumble.
And we wore rough and tumble growing up.
Exactly.
You couldn't give that to your kids.
Can you see? It's so funny you mentioned that, because we wore rough and tumble growing up. I remember when I walked into rough and tumble, the way I did an about turn and walked back out. Rough and tumble, okay. I could not buy rough and tumble clothes for my kids. So Pep made sense for me because, okay, I can't quite go into the markets like that. Like, I just don't have it in me to be able to do. Sorry to say. Just the background that I'm coming from.
Yeah.
It will not allow me to enter that market. But at least Pep, it was a nice intersection because at least they had brick and mortar stores. Okay, I could go in, I could buy tees or shorts for like 1.5, 1K. Sometimes they're even having sales, 500 naira. That made sense for me. So I will go to Pep and I'll time it so that is when we're going to Ekiti, because we go to Ekiti every December, so that his parents would not see how we are living and how they look. So I would time it. I'll time buying their clothes for just before we go to Ekiti. I will not let them wear the clothes. We'll start wearing it in Ekiti there. Brand new clothes. But Pep, cheap clothes or whatever, you wash it once, the thing has turned to something else. So I'll buy enough for the almost 10, 11, 12 days that will be in Ekiti. They wear all the clothes in Ekiti. When we now get back to Lagos, that's when we'll now wash everything for the first time. The shirts will shad, the shokoto will do like this, it will bend, all this kind of stuff. They will now start wearing it in the house. That's when they will now start wearing those clothes. So, and then the clothes that you guys will now send from Canada and all of that, I will keep those for when we have to go to church or when we have to go out to something. I will now go and be bringing out those clothes from Canada.
Saleh Akpoti.
Exactly, Saleh Akpoti kind of thing. I will go and bring them out. I will now be mising it and managing those clothes all through the year. When we have to go to church, if we have to go to some function, that's when I'll bring those ones out. But then all the clothes I would have bought from Pep, I'll be piling up. At some point, these boys don't even have PJs. Because I'll make the calculation. Okay, should I buy PJs or should we have something to eat? Or should I put fuel in my car? Or should I buy gas for the cylinder?
This is heartbreaking to hear. And he's home seeing these children looking all disheveled and their house clothes are raggedy and he's just...
The guy is not paying attention now. Him is just there. He goes in, he comes out, because he lives such a chaotic life. Does that one have time to be looking at what other people are wearing? Even me, myself, Toro, the clothes, the bulk of my closet were clothes that I brought with me when I was moving back to Nigeria. All my clothes.
And you didn't update your closet for the 5 years
I did not update my closet for the 5 years that I was in Nigeria.
Thank God for tried.
Okay, but by the time I now started working, what I would do is I had some fabrics. I would now get one tailor. She will now sew clothes for me down at a time every year. So that's what I'll now be using for church, for this, for that. How much did she? I found one tailor from somewhere in Unilag like this. This girl used to charge me 3K per outfit, 3K to sew. But she was very good. But it's 3K. Whereas, I look at my peers and them wearing, I'll see where they are shopping now. Is it not all this other more Augusto? And I see where they shop, but I can't afford to shop there. So again, I look at myself and I know that I lived a life that wasn't meant to, that wasn't supposed to be my life. But my heart breaks for my children because with my own might and my own power, I knew I could not, because Nigeria takes two. Nigeria is a tough place to live. And if one person is doing business, then you expect that, for me to give you the room to run business, then you expect returns on that. But this guy would never allow those returns come back into the house. Whatever money he managed to make from anywhere, he always put it on himself, spent it on himself. And his own passions and things he wanted to do. He wants to do snails. He wants to do pig. He wants to do gari. He wants to do this. He'll go and buy fridge. He'll go and buy, he'll go and be fixing this. He'll go and buy generators for this and that, this and that, this and that. And he always tell me, okay, he's investing it in his businesses. And so I left him. I Google did not have access to his account. I didn't see how much money he was making or not. I didn't focus on that side, but I expected him to look at his family and to invest in us too, just as much as he was investing in himself and in his businesses.
And that's not unreasonable to expect.
But it didn't match up. It didn't match up. So I'm so upset with the way my children had to live and with all the efforts that I put into patching holes when it really wasn't necessary.
So all these businesses that he had and was constantly diverting the money into, it seems like he always had a sub story to come home and say that he has lost this money, he has lost that money, he has lost this money. Was there any success, tangible success from any of these businesses? Like, what is there to show for it since you started living your life there in 2016 in the same place? Like, was there any concrete, solid evidence that, okay, yes, one is progressing in life, even if you have small beginnings, especially when you are privy to seeing all the cash flow essentially in and out, although not to you?
To be honest, it's actually very sad for me to even report this, because The guy would work like a chicken with its head cut off. He would run from pillar to post. He's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing that. But Toro, if I'm being very honest with you, not one business did I see succeed. In the 5 years I was with this guy, there will always be some story or the other as to why the business bang. And do you know the funny thing? I'll have to hold myself back from saying I told you so, because again, what business do you have trying to breed horses, trying to breed,
even if you want to invest
livestock
in it, like you're not going to be the front man, like you know, you get the experts.
But he wouldn't hear. And here's the thing, okay, even if you want to invest in someone that is already doing it, this guy doesn't have the cash flow. But you know how when some people are trying to do something on a budget, you can't do business on a budget. It's either you have the money for you to do that business properly, or you wait until you have the money. But he'll be trying to, when someone wants to use a giddy to do something, it's not by a giddy. So he'll be trying to cut corners with his businesses. And sometimes I'll tell him, I'm just like, this thing that you're describing to me actually sounds like a Ponzi scheme. And oftentimes you borrow money from here, borrow money from there. The business fails, then he will try and start a new business. Then the money he borrowed for the new business he'll be using to pay the old investors. And I'll be telling him, I'm just like, this thing sounds like a Ponzi scheme. And you'll be getting upset at me that, maybe I'm the one that just doesn't understand business. I don't know what I'm talking about. What do I know? And even me too. Before I married this man, I didn't know anything about business. I thought I was just going to be a working class professional. So me too, and I'll be like, maybe really and truly this is how business works too. But I just couldn't get it out of my head that it feels like this guy is
not adding up.
Things aren't adding up here. Why is it always you that all these businesses are always failing? Why is it always you that is investors, this, investors that, you're taking money from here to pay down one to the... I'm just like, I just couldn't shake off the feeling that this sounds like a Ponzi scheme. But all I just did was I just locked up jejely. And in my head, I just said that, look, under no circumstance am I going to sign anything that I don't know anything about. Am I going to, so sometimes when you try and
involve yourself,
involve me and try and drag me that, I should come and help him with this and that. I used to be very, very careful because I'm like, I don't understand the businesses this guy claims to be running, spending millions and losing millions. I don't want to be a part of this. I think the biggest one that happened, and this was in 2020, was when this guy was trying to time the market stocks.
Yeah, there was a huge crash.
2020 was a crazy year and the stock market dipped. And this guy was trying to cash in on the volatility of the stock market at that time. But this guy doesn't usually invest in stocks. Unbeknownst to him, me, I'd already even started watching a lot of videos on personal finance, looking into the stock market. I was learning a lot. And I don't even know why I was even learning, because I did not have the money to put in the stock market. But for some reason, I got intrigued by the videos. So I'll go down this rabbit hole of watching videos on the stock market, how to buy stocks, how to buy index funds. And I'll be watching for hours on end. So when this guy, he went to go and raise money from investors, I don't even know how much it was. Tens of thousands of dollars from investors. He told them that he was going to buy property for them in Canada because he's a real estate agent or a real estate broker in Canada. He said he was going to buy property for them in Canada, but the property hadn't yet been built. So he was going to, bottom line was he collected the money from them under the guise that he was going to buy property for them in Canada, but that property wasn't yet ready. It hadn't yet been built and he couldn't even pay for it yet. He now carried all that money in 2020 and put it in the stock market. Then the stock market crashed. This guy lost $200,000 in the stock market.
Oh my God.
Toro.
No.
$200,000 in the stock market is what this guy lost. And I told him, when the guy burst into, because we're already in separate rooms by this 20 time, when he burst into my room to try and tell me that, hey, wahala deal, all that kind of stuff, I told him, I said, leave it there. Don't pull it out. Because at least from what I understood about the stock market is you leave it, let the tape crashing. the thing will shall rise at some point in time. I told him, I said, don't touch it, just leave it there. Leave it there. Of course, he was incensed.
Panicked,
He was
yeah.
angry. He was like, that what am I talking about? That he's telling me he has lost this amount of money and I'm telling him not to pull it out, that it's better he tries to pull it out now so that he doesn't lose everything. I said, leave this money there. He shall rebuffed me. He pulled his cash out. So of course, that $200,000, the $200,000 that he lost was now a permanent loss. Till now, I don't even know if that guy has solved the problem. And left to me, if this podcast should go around and the owners of the $200,000 should hear, you better go and hold that guy by his shokoto, because I don't even know. I don't know what the guy has done to solve the problem, because me, I've left him and I've left the marriage. But reckless things like that, you don't know anything about the stock market. You're not an investor in the stock market. You went because of your greed. Someone gave you money to buy property for them in Canada, but you wanted to quickly make a big buck on top of that money before actually doing the thing. So you now lost everything. So to me, it just became very clear that this guy and business, it confirmed for me that, look, I don't know what is going on with this guy, but there's a recklessness about this guy with money and business that made me very, very uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to invest my own money with this guy. And what's that to say about a vote of confidence for somebody? If his own quote unquote wife at the time would not even invest her own money with him, I don't know how he was able to be getting all these other people to release money to him. So, I mean, again, there's just, to answer your question, there's a lot of shady stuff about this guy. And I think for me, the recklessness felt like he couldn't help himself. It just felt like he couldn't help it. He's compelled to do all these wild things, and he doesn't even know how the chips will fall, how it will not fall. He just goes. And for the most part, it is lined with failures. The thing that we were living, how he was even able to sustain our family, honestly, is on the businesses that this man's father has. He had like a furniture business and stuff, real estate, construction, things like that. His dad's businesses. But even with that like
that he is managing, or
his dad is still heavily involved. So he's like, they throw him a bone here and there kind of thing. He's managing one of the businesses, I think the factory that makes doors or whatever, but that factory doesn't even make sense. The quality of their doors that come out. But the man will not focus on that one. He will not focus on the doors and try and do quality doors or whatever. Subpar work is what the guy will be producing. And any money he makes from the door business is to go and be running and to be doing all these other side businesses that have nothing to do with his profession or nothing to do with his expertise. And that's why he kept losing money, because he keeps trying to make a quick buck rather than focus on his trade. Yeah.
Right. So this is all just very, I mean, to hear it all over again, it's troubling. It's heartbreaking and just scary to imagine, because I've never known you to be a materialistic person. So to like live in a house with someone, to have a partner, and to just feel like your tail is in the wind, to have no financial security of any kind, to the point where there's concerns for what to eat. So I think this whole thing is just so scary to even imagine, moving to, a new country, not knowing the layout of the place, learning all of that, and to have the background that you came from, which is that you were provided for, and then to come into a place of just severe, extreme lack is wild to me. And I can't imagine how much you would have borne, because I've not known you to be overly materialistic or even really materialistic at all, or with overly expensive taste. So these are the basics that we're talking about. And it's just scary to me to imagine that I'm in a house with somebody, a spouse, and you're there worrying about what to eat. You're having to increase your visits to your father-in-law because of some spare change that you're going to get that will make all the difference in your world. And this is all just very surprising to me, because I wasn't too privy to the dynamic of the inner workings of the full dynamic of the marriage, because I wasn't there in Nigeria with you on ground, but I do remember when you were first dating or courting or whatever, and this guy, there was always all these huge, elaborate bouquets showing up, gifts and stuff. So I didn't even imagine that it would go from that, or what he was projecting, the kind of life that you would have, to like the other extreme when it really came to the reality of things. So how was that for you? Was it like a whiplash thing, going from, oh, there's all this largesse and generosity, so-called or seemingly so, while we're dating, and then was it like a switch when you then arrived? Like,
it honestly was a complete switch. But here's the thing, Toro. I just chalked it up to, oh, maybe this is just the landscape of Nigeria. Because in all the courting or whatever, much of that was in Canada. So he would come, he would show up, he would do all these grand gestures, buy flowers, do this and that. And you're right, I'm not a materialistic person. In fact, the guy even got away with so much with me because I don't need much to be happy. And the things that I even need to be happy often do not even require cash or money to make me happy. You know me, if it's to dive in a dumpster, I can do it. If I can go dumpster diving, I go thrift shopping. Like, that's my vibe. I love to find a good deal. It's all the more why I even think that I was even able to survive the way that I did, because I can turn water into wine. I can figure shit out. But again, I didn't have to live that life. So to answer your question, when you're saying, when we were dating, he had projected this provider image. I mean, I went to school. I'm well educated. Like, it was never my idea that I was not going to take care of myself and, also bring things to the table in my own rights. In fact, the kind of family I grew up in, my mom and my dad, like they pulled their weight together. So it was never my idea that, oh, I'm just going to sit down and just face the home while he goes out there and does what he needs to do.
I mean, but who doesn't want to be taken care of?
I mean, sure. So, but he had projected this image that, number one, he's a provider, he can do this, he can do that. So when he would come, he would do this larger than life things. You would take my friends out, you would spend all this money. Sometimes, like, half the time, I never even ask my friends. He's the one that would say I should invite my friends. Kind of thing. So he had done this whole, sometimes you say, hey, let's go shopping. And I'll just be like, calm down. Like, honestly, I don't need anything right now. Like, it felt like I was the one holding him back. He when we're dating, he's like, let me spend this money. And I'll be like, oh God, just chill, just relax. It felt like I was the one constantly trying to close that his wallet. That's okay, it's enough. Don't, you don't need to spend this money. You don't need to spend that, because I was overly cautious at the time about money. That's just how I am. Till now, that's just how I am. I don't like to spend unnecessarily. I prefer saving and investing. Like, that's my vibe, really. If you want to splurge on that, oh yeah, now no problem, let's do it. So I think for me, it was very confusing when I now then got married to him, and it felt like the wallet closed. And it felt like I had to pry every naira out from this man. It was confusing because on one hand, I was like, but this is not, he had projected this generous, this I will take care of you kind of image. And then we get here and things are tight, things are tough. But instead, he tried to make it seem as if I was the problem. And because I was so new to Nigeria, I didn't know all these things like I'd already explained. I thought, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the one that just doesn't know where to go to buy these things. Maybe I'm the one that is really, maybe I'm being bad so much in this Nigeria. Maybe this corn beef that I'm buying, maybe I'm buying it at an exorbitant price or things like that. He made it seem as if I'm the one that was just a bad money. I was the one that was just a bad money manager. In addition, every day was always some woe is me statement about how his businesses are not doing well. His businesses are losing money. This one, that one. So I now used to feel like I couldn't ask him for money, because every day he's coming home, he's telling me he's lost this, he has lost this million, he has lost that million. So just even ask the guy for 10K self, I'll be afraid, I'll be shaking. And then if I can gather the strength to ask, it's the kind of thing where they'll make you grovel for it, they'll make you beg for it.
Or be angry, like, it's so unsavory. an experience to.
He would just make it such a. It felt like I was pulling nails, and then by the time it's like he would just throw the money at you, kind of thing. So the next time I'll be so afraid to ask for money again. Like I told you, that's why the money that mommy and daddy was sending me, I was diverting it because I could not ask this guy for money. Which is why I'll be going to go and see his dad almost every weekend if the man is around, because the guy travels. His dad traveled a lot. But once I hear that his dad is around, I'll be going to go and see him because I know that one thing, the guy will shake his agbada, some cash will come out from there. It was so crazy. It was so wild. So there was a lot of things that confused me about why I was experiencing the shortage, if you will. But with clear eyes now, I see that number one, the guy was just, again, negligent, financially negligent. Like he didn't care enough to spend on his family. He always wanted to get a pat on the back for the most basic shit. Okay, fine. Eventually, by it was like in 2020, we finally got health insurance as a family. The guy wanted me to be doing all the dorimolein for him over that. Okay, we got health insurance. When the guy managed to pay school fees, okay, I should be saying thank you to him from morning to night. That's okay, he's paying school fees. Which again, I'm not knocking him for doing it, but why do you want all this adulation? Like, this is basic. This is standard. So, okay, sure, you don't want to pay school fees. Is that what it is? But he wants all the thank yous and the praise, glory be to God, for doing the most basic shit. And I just wasn't that kind of person, because I'm just like, I'm also here busting my ass, taking care of this family.
Right. And you did eventually start to find your own feet. You finally got entrepreneurial yourself and started a business. And how was it? How did the dynamic change how was the dynamic when you started being more independent, financially independent?
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned this. So shortly after I'd had my second child, I took care of him for a bit, and immediately I put myself out there that I was looking for work. And it wasn't long, like within a month, I got a job working in tech. And I worked for this startup, and, we're doing really well for ourselves, at least up until the time I even left. Like, it is a really good startup. But I was even underpaid in that company, funny enough. But that's a story for another day. But I got there, and I had wanted to make a certain amount because, again, I could just already see that, look, I need to be able to take care of my children. So I'd wanted to make a certain amount, but the company was a startup at the time, so they had already had all these budget constraints. So I was amenable to that. I'm like, okay, you know what? There's the opportunity to have stocks, to do this, to do that, and I could just see that, okay, this company is still going somewhere. And then I had negotiated with them that, okay, look, after a year of work, we will revisit this salary situation. What they began paying me was okay to take care of my needs to an extent, like my needs in Nigeria, at least. I felt it was sufficient. It was more than the money that we were, that this man was giving to run the household.
Of course.
And the like. So I just felt that, okay, together with what I'm earning, I can start to give these boys, I can start to build this life that I felt like we were supposed to have. I could already imagine, okay, the possibilities of being able to give my children experiences like travel and, just exposing them to the kind of life that I had, and I felt I also wanted to give to them. So I got that job in 2019, and I started to have a stronger sense of security in myself, in what I was able to do for our family. So there was that. Then I also started a business too, selling wedding and engagement rings, because it's something that was really my passion. And even till now, like I really hope that I'm able to circle back to that, because it was a business that I really, really loved. And as much as I hadn't even really started, I hadn't really gone anywhere, when just even the clients I would get, it was already so lucrative from the very beginning for me. This was something that I was earning even double my salary sometimes. My actual 9-to-5 salary, I was earning a lot more from my business. So, but I couldn't, I was straddling a lot. I was doing a lot. So I would just take on clients when I could, when I would get referrals here and there, and I would work through it. But it was actually very lucrative, and it's something that
You mean the profit from one sale was like equivalent to more than your salary?
Yeah.
That is lucrative. Yeah.
Yeah. The profit from one sale, one ring was more than my 9 to 5 salary in a month. And so I was picking that up organically, word of mouth. I was growing a little bit. I was even working through some of the challenges, issues with customs. I was already figuring everything out. I'd already gotten my shipper person that I was using. I'd already tested him out. He was doing really well. Like, my business was coming up, and I pray I'm able to circle back to this because it's something that I really love. Because at the end of the day, I actually love love. I love it. I love when people fall in love. I love, the wedding planning period is so beautiful. So if I can be a part of people's journey, even just via this avenue, it's something that I would really love to get back to. But my point is, I'd started this little business. So, and he was doing well for himself. But of course, all of a sudden, this Paulinus, I would just be getting a lot of anger and vitriol from the guy.
Resentfulness about your independence, your success.
About everything, about my job. Even because, again, I worked for a startup. For people who work in tech, startup life is not it. It is trenches, my people, is what startup life is all about. You're working constantly. There's nothing like it's not in my job description. Whether it's in your job description or it's not in your job description, whether it's Saturday or Sunday or Monday, you are working. There's a lot that has to happen because we're trying to make this company viable. This guy will rage at me about this and that. He's taking up so much of my time. How much are they even paying myself? What is there in the money? He's there saying how much are they paying me, but the money that he's giving me is even up to what the job is paying me. But this guy will ridicule my salary. He will call my salary. Hey, how much is that self? What is it? Blah, blah, blah. So because of that, you will not take care of this family. Because of that, you will not take care of your children. You will not take care of me. Hey, hey, I want to talk to you now. I can't even talk to you because you're working. Because this guy will see, this guy can talk.
Hold court.
He will talk. But over the years, look, I beg, I just put it, excuse me, please, I have things to do. I cannot sit down here and be listening to you from morning till night, talk. More so when I even started my job again. Sometimes he'll burst in, he wants to talk. I'll be like, I'm sorry, I can't. So of course, I already started to put in those boundaries. So he was getting upset about those boundaries. So of course, my job was taking on a lot of my time. He saw how I was like becoming upwardly mobile. And I genuinely till today believe that this guy is just a jealous guy. He was so jealous. He was jealous of the fact that there was something that was occupying me now that I seemed to be doing well in. I didn't need him anymore. He and of course he's there running around in circles with his own businesses that are constantly failing. And my own little business that I just said, let me even start to kind of thing, he seemed to be picking up. There's something he did that really, really hurt me and really pained me, Toro. One of his friends was getting married or wanted to propose to his girlfriend or whatever. I found out about it. I started to talk to the guy about it for over a year.
So he became a client?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy was actually the best man to our wedding, This guy. So I started working with him to help him get his ring and all of that. Of course, just to clarify for the audience, I sold diamond engagements, diamond rings, real gold and diamond rings and all of that. So I know it's a heavy investment for a lot of people. So I was amenable. I used to give people time to kind of build up their funds or whatever. It wasn't unusual for me to have been working with a client for like a year out. Because if they're going to have to save money to spend on rings, the least ring that I sold was $2,000 there. So if they were going to work up the funds to be able to purchase like a quality ring, it wasn't unusual for me to have been working with a client for that long, would have selected the ring ahead of time. Then you start to save your money and you'll be sending it to me over time. I did that. I more so because this guy was the best man to our wedding, was one of these Paulinus' closest friends. That's even one of the reasons why I was even that patient with him. And I gave him all the grace. So I'd been working with this guy for over a year, trying to help him with his ring and all of that. All of a sudden, he felt like the guy was just being he was slipping and sliding. It felt like I couldn't hold him. We had already done ring selection how many times? Like, now it's time to make payments and all of this. So I just felt like I couldn't reach him. I couldn't get hold of this guy and all of that. Only for one day, this Paulinus to come and tell me. He was not even telling me like directly to my face. He was talking about something else, completely, something entirely different. Saying he now passed the comment, hey, the Nigeria today, blah, blah, blah. But that's why I told this guy, he said, that's why I told him not to buy your ring. That this one, that one, that how much is that? You doesn't need to be spending that kind of money. And he continued on just rambling and everything. And I was listening, I paused. You know, at first, sometimes when you're in an abusive relationship, sometimes you have to decide if this is the battle you want to fight today or not. So I was still quiet. I was listening to him just ramble on about what he was talking about. And I paused and I said, no, I'm going to fight this one. I paused. I said, excuse me. You told this guy not to buy a ring from me. He said, yes, now, blah, blah, blah. And he tried to, I said, no. Mm-mm. You mean this person?
Working, yeah.
That we have been doing ring selection now for over a year. That's okay. When it was now even time to start making some payments, while I was having issues even getting a hold of the guy, the guy always say tomorrow, next tomorrow. He was like, he was posting me. I was like, are you telling me that you, my own husband, told him not to buy a ring from me?
Actively sabotaging your business, taking money out of both of you guys' mouths for what?
I was like, that is wrong. And he was trying to justify, he was trying to explain. I said, no, that is wrong. I don't care if whatever reason you have, under no circumstance should it be my own husband telling my own customer not to buy from me. I was like, that is messed up. I don't care how you want to explain it, how you want to say it, how you want to whatever. I don't care.
And he didn't tell you. This is something he did behind your back too.
So behind my back, and he wasn't even telling me. He was saying something else entirely. But he just happened to say this one, just dropped it in and was moving on already. He didn't even realize that I had caught on to what. So of course he now tried to now flip it. You know, he now realized that my eye was kind of red on the issue. So of course he now started to push back that that what is it? Should be my rings are expensive self. That how many people can afford it? And this one, I was like, that's not but the guy was ready to buy the ring though. What kind of vote of confidence is that? If my own husband is one telling you not to buy the ring, like I don't care if my rings cost 15 million naira. It is not my husband that should go around telling people all around the whole place that
shouldn't patronize your business.
Don't buy a ring from me. Even if the man had 100 million naira, he's not going to buy a ring from me if my spouse is telling him not to buy my ring from me. Like, what the hell is that? And I was all the more incensed because I just remembered all the long list of stupid businesses that this guy started, that he'll be on my matter about, that I should promote it to, I should send it to my contact, so I should be promoting on social media, this one, that one. I should be, and so, but behind my back, you are there telling people not to buy rings from me. Because again, the jealousy, this is a business, because sometimes you ask me, or he didn't even need to ask, sometimes I'll come and tell him about, maybe clearing customs or this one, that one, but thank God, he did not even eat too much into the profit or this one, that one. So he knew that my business was profitable. He knew it was making sense. And it is jealousy. He tried to kneecap me.
In addition to the jealousy, it's also just the basic foundations of abuse. Having you financially dependent on him gives him so much more command and control over you. And so you gaining this independence, you starting to draw boundaries to restrict access to him because you're working, all those things as well is also part of it. So the resentfulness towards your own sudden mobility is because he's losing leverage on how to continue to control, abuse, get off on seeing you looking washed out and in lack. And they can't stand that.
See, to this thing that you're saying, I cannot believe that somebody I loved and committed my life to would treat me like this. That has been what has been so difficult for me to process since I left this marriage, that I can't believe that this guy actually hated me. There's nothing anybody can say to me. This guy hated me. He hated me. And he wanted to destroy me because I cannot wrap my head around his mistreatment. All of this one I'm telling you right now, this is all in addition to the physical abuse, all in addition to the sexual abuse, all in addition to the verbal abuse, the psychological abuse, everything that this guy did to me, all of this one I'm saying now about financial neglect, blah, blah, this is against that backdrop. Like, chauffeur shemile sheni, chauffeur pamini, you want to kill me? And I'm saying this thing now because I know when this podcast comes out now, of course, there'll be some people that would support me and would really take to my story and will be encouraging. But I already know that I'm also going to get a lot of backlash. I'm going to get lots of backlash from misogynists, from enablers, from patriarchy princesses. You know, abuse, this one and YouTube. Yeah, maybe if you had this one, that one, this one, that one. Like, I already know that I'm going to have people that are going to try and demonize me here. But should I really have just cuckoo died? Maybe because that's what I've seen, especially when it comes to abuse, and especially abuse in Nigeria, is until the victim cuckoo dies.
The perfect victim is a dead one. For so long as you got out there and you still have life and limb, someone is going to cast a shadow of doubt on your story, try to poke a hole in, but why didn't you? Like, it's true. It's true. And it's not just in Nigeria, it's all over the place. Like, is it when the person is finally dead and 6 feet under before you can say that, yes, this guy went too far?
Like, how far is too far, really? And if I did not escape and leave when I went, this guy was still trying to go even further.
Yeah.
So for me, the way I give glory to God that this guy did not finish the work that he started on me until he can never in his lifetime, he can never finish it. So the way I give glory to God, because God himself is the one that saved me. Because the breakfast that I chopped in the hands of this man, what gave me the courage to escape the way that I did, I still don't know. But I just thank God. Because honestly, this guy was so messed up. He was downright trash. Absolute trash. I think that's it. Honestly, I don't even think we can. I know we had planned to speak about like the sexual abuse, but I think that one is a mountain in and of itself. And I think that one,
it's going to have to be its own thing. I didn't even know or expect that talking about this financial neglect was going to take this long and be this, have so much stuff and layers to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the next episode, guys, we'll be delving into the sexual abuse. And that one too is so heartbreaking. It really, really is. It's so heartbreaking. The more I recount these stories and everything, I don't know how I'm standing. I don't know how I'm standing, honestly. I don't know. But I think we'll just wrap it up here, guys.
Right. Yeah.
All right, guys. So we'll be signing off. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
My discernment about what I am facing has made me a target, but I must nonetheless speak up. Make no mistake, this is still a live and ongoing issue, and myself, my children, and loved ones continue to be in danger as a result of my coming forward with the truth. I want it on record that should any calamity befall any one of us, my abuser and his threatening family should be the first people held as persons of interest.
Authenticity Warrior is available everywhere you listen to podcasts and is at Authenticity Warrior across all social media platforms. Please feel free to like and share this podcast. Thanks for listening.